Welcome back to G News Daily, your go-to source for the biggest updates from the USA and across the globe. Today, we are counting down the top 10 most impactful news stories you need to know right now. Before we jump in, make sure to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you never miss a world update. Let's get started with number 10. Today, first news. Ukraine targets foreign tech in new missile sanctions. President Volodymyr Zelensky announced a decisive move on Sunday to stifle Russia's military production by imposing sanctions on foreign component suppliers. These measures specifically target international companies that provide critical parts for the drones and missiles used in the ongoing invasion. Zelensky emphasized that these foreign manufacturers are essential to Russia's ability to build its arsenal, often through the circumvention of existing trade restrictions. The president noted that the production of advanced weaponry would be virtually impossible without this flow of foreign technology. By signing these new decisions, Ukraine aims to cut off the supply chain at its source, holding both component suppliers and drone manufacturers accountable. Zelensky remains committed to ensuring that international tech no longer powers the Russian war machine, promising that these sanctions will strike at the heart of their manufacturing capabilities. Same to same. Next news. Americans run out of time to claim missed stimulus payments. Millions of Americans who missed out on their COVID-19 stimulus payments are facing the permanent closure of federal recovery programs. While past reports from outlets like Marca suggested that legal routes remained open to recover these funds, the Internal Revenue Service (IRS) has confirmed that the strict 3-year filing window for the recovery rebate credit has now largely expired. For the 2020 payments, the deadline passed on May 17, 2024, while the final opportunity to claim the 2021 credit ended on April 15, 2025. Administrative hurdles and address changes were primary reasons why many eligible recipients originally missed their checks. However, as of early 2026, the U.S. Treasury has moved to archive unclaimed pandemic-era funds, marking the end of the emergency relief era. Taxpayers can still use their IRS online account to verify past payment history for their own records, but the window to file amended returns for these specific credits is closed. This shift back to pre-pandemic tax standards ensures that no further retroactive stimulus payments will be issued. Next news. Prime Minister Takaichi stakes future on Japan's historic winter election. Voting commenced across Japan this Sunday as Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi seeks a decisive mandate for her ambitious economic and security reforms. Japan's first female premier has adopted a high-stakes strategy, pledging to resign immediately if her coalition, consisting of the Liberal Democratic Party and the Japan Innovation Party, fails to secure a majority in the 465-member House of Representatives. This snap election, the first held in February in 36 years, comes amid heavy snowfall that officials fear could suppress voter turnout across several regions. Campaigning has centered on the rising cost of living and a controversial push to bolster Japan's military capabilities. While the ruling bloc faces criticism for delaying the fiscal 2026 budget to hold this vote, Takaichi maintains that public backing is essential for her aggressive fiscal policies. Meanwhile, the newly formed centrist Reform Alliance is testing its strength, aiming to capitalize on voter unease regarding the country's rightward political shift. With nearly 1,300 candidates vying for seats, the outcome will determine if Takaichi can achieve the supermajority needed for constitutional revision, or if Japan faces a fresh period of political instability. Next news. India and Malaysia forge tech-driven strategic alliance in Kuala Lumpur. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Malaysian counterpart Anwar Ibrahim have unveiled an expansive roadmap to elevate their comprehensive strategic partnership, focusing on semiconductors, defense, and digital payments. During high-level talks in Kuala Lumpur, both leaders emphasized the need to future-proof bilateral ties against global supply chain disruptions. A centerpiece of the agreement is a strategic collaboration in the semiconductor value chain, supported by partnerships between IIT Madras and Malaysian technical academies. This shift marks a transition from traditional trade to a technology-driven engagement designed to bolster regional resilience. The partnership also introduces significant financial and security integration, including local currency settlement in rupee and ringgit to reduce transaction costs. Digital cooperation will be spearheaded by the new Malaysia-India Digital Council, alongside a linkage between NPCI International and PayNet for seamless cross-border payments. On the defense front, the leaders celebrated the success of joint military exercises and established a strategic affairs working group. The visit concluded with multiple agreements spanning green energy, healthcare, and counter-terrorism, solidifying Malaysia's role as a vital partner in India's Indo-Pacific strategy. Next news. Iran defies US pressure, pledges to continue uranium enrichment. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi declared on Sunday that Tehran remains unintimidated by the deployment of US naval forces in the Gulf, following threats from President Donald Trump. Speaking after US envoy Steve Witkoff visited the aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln, Araghchi asserted that Iran would never surrender its right to nuclear enrichment, even if war is imposed. He emphasized that the nation has already paid a heavy price for its peaceful nuclear program and will not allow foreign powers to dictate its sovereign behavior. Araghchi's remarks followed 2 days of indirect talks in Oman, which he described as a good start, but conditioned further progress on the removal of military threats. Meanwhile, Iran's president reaffirmed that dialogue remains the country's primary strategy for peaceful resolution, provided it is based on mutual respect rather than the language of force. He noted that while recent talks in Muscat were a step forward, Iran's nuclear ambitions are strictly governed by its rights under the Non-Proliferation Treaty. Despite the presence of a massive US armada in the region, Tehran maintains that its military doctrine has shifted toward a state of readiness. The president warned that any aggression against Iranian soil would meet a decisive response against regional bases, signaling that the Islamic Republic is prepared to defend its technological independence at any cost. Next news, Zelensky warns of $12 trillion Russian economic pitch to Washington. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky revealed on Saturday that Russian intelligence has identified a massive $12 trillion economic proposal offered by the Kremlin to the United States. Dubbed the Dmitriev package, after Russian negotiator Kirill Dmitriev, the plan reportedly outlines a framework for deep bilateral cooperation between Moscow and Washington. Zelensky expressed concern that such a substantial transactional offer could lead to back-channel agreements that undermine Ukrainian sovereignty. The staggering $12 trillion figure, which is more than quadruple Russia's entire annual GDP, is viewed by Kyiv as an attempt to leverage the Trump administration's business-oriented foreign policy to secure sanctions relief and territorial concessions. Zelensky's remarks come as the White House reportedly pushes for a diplomatic resolution to the conflict by June 2026. The Ukrainian leader emphasized that while bilateral trade between world powers is standard, any deal affecting Ukraine's borders or security must remain transparent. We are making it clear that Ukraine will not support any such potential agreements about us that are made without us, Zelensky told reporters. As secret negotiations continue, Kyiv remains wary that the Kremlin is using these high-value economic carrots to bypass traditional diplomatic channels and secure a peace deal on Russian terms, potentially sidelining Ukraine's long-term national interests. Next news, Epstein files trigger a massive political purge across European capitals. A vast trove of Jeffrey Epstein's investigative files, released by the US Department of Justice on January 30, 2026, has ignited a political firestorm across Europe, toppling high-ranking officials while the United States remains comparatively stable. The disclosure of over 3 million pages and thousands of videos has ended the careers of ambassadors and senior diplomats who maintained ties with the financier after his 2008 conviction. In the United Kingdom, former ambassador to Washington Peter Mandelson has resigned from the House of Lords and faces a criminal investigation into allegations of leaking market-sensitive information to Epstein. This scandal has pushed Prime Minister Keir Starmer into a leadership crisis after he admitted knowing of Mandelson's ties prior to his appointment. The fallout extends deep into the continent, with senior resignations and investigations reported in Norway, Sweden and Slovakia. Miroslav Lajčák, a top Slovakian official, stepped down following revelations of professional and social interactions with Epstein, while Swedish UN official Joanna Rubinstein resigned after files detailed her visits to Epstein's private island. Experts suggest that Europe's parliamentary systems and accountability structures have driven these swift consequences, unlike the more muted reaction in Washington. Even the British royal family remains under scrutiny as newly released photos appear to show Andrew Mountbatten Windsor in compromising positions, further distancing the former prince from the monarchy as criminal probes intensify across the Atlantic. Next news, Indian refiners halt Russian oil orders to secure landmark US trade pact. Indian state and private refiners have reportedly stopped placing new orders for Russian crude oil scheduled for April delivery, signaling a major strategic pivot aimed at finalizing a comprehensive trade deal with Washington. According to industry sources, major players including Indian Oil Corporation and Reliance Industries are bypassing Russian offers for March and April loadings. This shift follows President Donald Trump's recent decision to rescind punitive 25% tariffs on Indian goods after receiving a commitment from New Delhi to phase out Russian energy imports. While existing contracts through March will be honored, the broader move marks a sharp decline from the 2025 peak of 2 million barrels per day. The cooling of energy ties with Moscow comes as India and the US finalize a trade framework expected to be signed by mid-March 2026. The agreement aims to lower reciprocal tariffs to 18% and involves a massive commitment from India to purchase $500 billion in US goods, including energy and technology products, over the next 5 years. While the Ministry of External Affairs maintains that energy diversification is based on market conditions, the US Department of Commerce has established a monitoring mechanism to ensure Russian imports do not resume. Analysts suggest that while replacing heavy Russian Urals with lighter US shale presents technical challenges, the trade pact's economic benefits for India's export sector remain the primary driver for this shift. Next news: UAE to host World Government Summit in February 2027. The United Arab Emirates has officially announced that the next World Government Summit will be held from February 1 to 3, 2027. Guided by the vision of UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan and Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, the event aims to strengthen international partnerships and exchange governance practices. Mohammed Al Gergawi, chairman of the WGS, emphasized that the summit empowers leaders to navigate global challenges and drive sustainable prosperity. This announcement follows the record-breaking 2026 edition, which hosted over 6,250 participants, including 60 heads of state and 87 Nobel laureates. Discussions focused on global governance, economic opportunity, and human development. The summit continues to serve as a vital platform for innovative policymaking and international cooperation. Next news: Google employees demand divestment from DHS contracts in open letter. Nearly 1,000 Google employees have signed a petition demanding the company sever ties with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement (ICE) and Customs and Border Protection (CBP). The letter, titled "Google's Demand: Worker Safety and ICE Contract Transparency," alleges that Google's cloud and AI technologies are being used for surveillance and repression. Workers expressed horror that their labor support systems like Palantir's Immigration OS. The petition calls for an emergency Q&A session, full disclosure of government contracts, and enhanced safety measures for all staff. Employees are urging leadership to acknowledge the ethical implications of these partnerships and publicly divest from agencies involved in state violence. Google has yet to issue a formal statement regarding these demands.